Imagine a man who once ruled an entire nation with an iron fist for more than 4 decades, living in luxury, feared and admired in equal measure, only to spend his final moments cowering in a filthy drainage pipe, covered in blood, begging for his life as an angry mob closed in. That man was Muammar Gaddafi, the longtime leader of Libya, and his end was as shocking and brutal as anything you could imagine. It wasn't a quiet passing in a palace or a dignified trial in a courtroom. No, it was chaotic, violent, and heartbreaking in its raw humanity. Today, we're going to dive deep into those last desperate hours, but also step back to understand how a poor boy from the desert rose to absolute power, only to fall so spectacularly when the world turned against him. Picture this: it's 1942. And in a simple Bedouin tent near the coastal town of Sirte in Libya, a baby boy is born into poverty. His name is Muammar Gaddafi. His family are nomads, moving with their goats and camels across the harsh desert sands. Life is tough. There's little money, no fancy schools nearby, but young Muammar is smart and ambitious. He listens to radio broadcasts about Arab nationalism, dreaming of a united, strong Arab world free from foreign control. As a teenager, he joins the military academy, where he sharpens his ideas and gathers like-minded friends. By 1969, at just 27 years old, he's ready. In a quick, bloodless coup, he overthrows the old king, Idris, and declares himself the leader of a new Libya.
At first, many Libyans cheer him. Gaddafi kicks out foreign military bases, takes control of the country's massive oil wealth, and promises to share it with the people. He builds schools, hospitals, roads, things that make life better for ordinary folks. He calls his system the Jamahiriya, meaning a state of the masses, where everyone supposedly has a say. He writes a little green book full of his philosophies, and it becomes required reading. For a while, he positions himself as a hero against Western imperialism, supporting causes across Africa and the Arab world. Money flows in from oil, and Libya becomes one of the richest countries in Africa per person. But power changes people, doesn't it? Over the years, Gaddafi's rule grows darker. He bans political parties, crushes any opposition, and his secret police watch everyone. Critics disappear. Jails fill with prisoners, and one terrible event stands out: the Abu Salim prison massacre in 1996, where over 1,000 inmates are killed after a protest. Gaddafi gets involved in international trouble too. His government is linked to terrorist attacks, like the bombing of a plane over Lockerbie in Scotland in 1988, killing 270 innocent people. Sanctions hit Libya hard, the economy suffers, and Gaddafi becomes an outcast. Yet he survives, clever and defiant, even as his people grow poorer, while his family lives in extravagance.
By the early 2000s, he tries to clean up his image. He gives up plans for dangerous weapons, pays compensation for past attacks, and shakes hands with Western leaders. Oil money flows again, and things seem stable. But underneath, resentment simmers. The wealth isn't shared fairly. Gaddafi's inner circle gets rich, while many young people struggle with unemployment and no freedom to speak out. Then, in 2011, everything explodes. It starts with the Arab Spring, a wave of protests sweeping across the Middle East. People in Tunisia and Egypt topple their dictators, demanding democracy and jobs. In Libya, it begins quietly in February 2011 in the city of Benghazi. Families are still angry about the old prison massacre, and when a lawyer named Fatih Turbil is arrested for speaking out, crowds gather to demand his release. Soon, protests spread, calling for an end to Gaddafi's 42-year rule. At first, they're peaceful, people chanting for freedom, holding signs. But Gaddafi doesn't tolerate dissent. He orders his security forces to shoot. Live bullets rain down on demonstrators, and hundreds die in just days. The world watches in horror as videos leak out of the violence. Gaddafi goes on television, furious, calling the protesters rats and cockroaches drugged by outsiders. His son, Saif al-Islam, warns of rivers of blood if they don't stop. But it's too late. The spark has ignited a fire. Soldiers defect, tribes turn against him, and rebels seize control of eastern Libya. A group called the National Transitional Council forms to lead the opposition. Cities become battlegrounds, and Gaddafi clings to the west, using elite brigades led by his sons and even hiring foreign mercenaries to fight for him.
The international community steps in. The United Nations authorizes action to protect civilians, and NATO launches airstrikes in March. Planes from America, France, Britain, and others bomb Gaddafi's tanks, air defenses, and supply lines. He rants on state TV from hidden locations, vowing to fight to the death, but his forces weaken. By August, rebels launch a big offensive and capture Tripoli, the capital. Gaddafi's grand compound is overrun. People loot it, celebrating in his bedrooms. He flees with his remaining loyalists to his hometown of Sirte, a coastal city where he was born. Sirte becomes his last stand. For weeks, it's under siege. Rebel fighters surround it, NATO bombs fall relentlessly, and inside, conditions are hellish. Gaddafi hides in bunkers with about 200 supporters, mostly from his own tribe. Food runs low, water is scarce, diseases spread. He loses weight, looks pale and tired. Diabetes and stress take their toll. His family scatters. His wife and some children escape to Algeria, another son to Niger. But Gaddafi refuses to leave. He believes in his cause, or maybe he's just too proud to surrender. Reports say he spends time reading, praying, talking to his closest aides about fighting on. October 2011 arrives, and Sirte is crumbling. Buildings are rubble, snipers everywhere, booby traps waiting. Gaddafi's group knows they can't hold out much longer. On the morning of October 20, they make a desperate break for it. Around 50 vehicles loaded with fighters, weapons, and whatever supplies they have try to escape southwest towards safer areas. But NATO drones are watching from the sky. A U.S. Predator spots the convoy and fires a missile. French jets follow up, bombing the vehicles. Explosions rip through the line. Cars flip. People scream. Smoke rises. Survivors scatter on foot, running for cover. Gaddafi, wounded in the chaos, maybe from shrapnel, is helped by his bodyguards, including his son Mutassim and the defense minister Abu Bakr Yunus. They dive into a large drainage pipe under the road, a dirty concrete tunnel meant for stormwater. There, in the mud and filth, the once mighty leader huddles with a handful of men, guns ready, hearts pounding. You can almost feel the fear. The end is near.
Rebel fighters from nearby Misrata swarm the area. They spot movement, throw grenades into the pipes. Smoke and blasts force the group out. Gaddafi emerges, blood streaming from his head, arm, and legs. He's dazed, disheveled, his famous curly hair matted, his clothes torn. Video footage later shows the moment. Young fighters, wild with adrenaline and years of hatred, grab him. They drag him onto the hood of a truck. "Don't shoot! Don't shoot!" he pleads, his voice weak. But the mob is unstoppable. They beat him with rifle butts, kick him, stab him with bayonets. Someone sodomizes him with a stick in a humiliating act of revenge. Shots ring out, into his stomach, his head. Mutassim is captured nearby and soon killed too. By early afternoon, Muammar Gaddafi is dead at 69. No trial, no last words recorded, just chaos and vengeance. His body is taken to Misrata, laid out on a bloody mattress in a meat freezer for the public to see. Crowds file past, some cheering, some silent, taking photos. A few days later, he's buried secretly in the desert, unmarked, to prevent a shrine or desecration. The fall of Gaddafi ended the war, but Libya's troubles were just beginning. Without him, the country fractured into rival militias, leading to years of instability, another civil war, and suffering for millions. His story is a powerful reminder of how absolute power can corrupt, how revolutions can turn brutal, and how the strongest rulers are human in the end. Scared, vulnerable, alone. Think about it. One day you're shaping a nation's destiny. The next, you're hiding in a pipe, facing a furious crowd. Gaddafi's life was full of grand dreams and terrible mistakes, triumphs and tragedies. It teaches us about the fragility of power, the cost of tyranny, and the raw emotions that drive history. In those final hours, amid the dust and blood of Sirte, a chapter closed violently, leaving the world to wonder, what if things had gone differently? What if mercy had prevailed? But history doesn't offer second chances, and Gaddafi's end stands as one of the most dramatic and haunting in modern times.